Welcome back to Hidden Hype, where the shadows hold the most electrifying stories.
October 11th, 1973. The air along the Pascagoula River was heavy and still, the kind of stillness you only notice when everything around you suddenly feels too quiet. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker had come to the river that evening for a simple reason: to fish. Nothing unusual, nothing mysterious, just two co-workers trying to unwind after a long day at the shipyard. The sun had already set. Darkness slowly settled across the Mississippi landscape. The river reflected the faint glow of distant industrial lights. Crickets hummed in the distance. Water moved gently along the shoreline. Everything felt normal, until the sound began. Charles Hickson was 42 years old, a quiet man, reliable, hard-working, someone who believed in practical things. Calvin Parker was only 19, younger, more reserved, still figuring out his place in the world. The two worked together at a nearby shipyard. That evening, like many evenings before, they decided to spend time fishing along the Pascagoula River. It was something simple, familiar, safe. The riverbank was a place where the noise of work faded away, where time slowed down, where nothing unexpected ever happened. Or at least, that's what they believed. As they stood near the water's edge, both men suddenly heard something unusual. At first, it was faint, almost easy to ignore. A strange, buzzing sound. Low, mechanical, unfamiliar. Charles later described the sound as something unlike anything he had ever heard before. Not an airplane, not an insect, not a boat engine. Something different, something unnatural. The sound grew louder. Both men looked up, and that's when they saw it. Suspended above the ground was a glowing object, oval-shaped, emitting a soft blue light, hovering silently just beyond the tree line. The object appeared solid, structured, controlled. The blue glow reflected across the surface of the river. The light shimmered across the ripples in the water. Calvin later said the moment he saw the object, he felt something he could not explain. Fear. Immediate. Overwhelming. Not curiosity. Not confusion. Fear. Charles felt it too. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. The men described feeling unable to move, as if their bodies had suddenly stopped responding. Their muscles felt heavy. Their thoughts felt slowed. The buzzing sound continued. Then, something opened on the craft. A doorway, a dark opening illuminated by blue light, and from that opening, something emerged. 3 figures moved out from the craft. They did not walk the way humans walk. They appeared to glide, floating slightly above the ground. The men later described the beings as gray in color, wrinkled skin, long arms, claw-like hands, no visible neck. Their heads appeared fixed directly to their bodies. Their movements were controlled, purposeful, precise. They did not appear to be rushing. They did not appear aggressive. But something about their presence felt overwhelming, unnatural, terrifying. Charles later said he tried to shout, tried to run, tried to move, but his body would not respond. Calvin described feeling completely helpless, unable to control his own movements. The beings approached slowly, one on each side, one in front. They did not speak. They did not gesture. They simply moved closer and closer, until the men felt themselves being lifted. The men claimed they were taken inside the object. Inside, the air felt different, still, controlled. The room was illuminated with a soft white glow, no visible light source, no visible shadows. The walls appeared smooth, metallic, seamless. Charles described a mechanical device, something shaped like a large eye, observing, scanning, studying. The device moved with precision, as if examining them. Both men later struggled to describe how long they were inside the object. Time did not feel normal. There were no clocks, no windows, no visible way to measure how long the experience lasted. Charles Hickson would later say it felt like only minutes had passed. Calvin Parker said it felt longer, much longer. The silence inside the craft was overwhelming. No voices, no footsteps, no mechanical sounds that resembled anything familiar. Only the quiet hum of something operating beyond their understanding. The mechanical device moved with precision, slowly scanning across their bodies, as if collecting information, as if studying them. Neither man reported feeling pain, but both described feeling completely powerless, unable to control their movements, unable to stop what was happening. Charles later said the beings did not appear hostile, but they did not appear compassionate either. They behaved with purpose, with efficiency, as if performing a routine task. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the examination ended. The men reported feeling themselves being guided back toward the entrance of the craft. The interior light remained soft, consistent, emotionless. The beings did not communicate. They did not acknowledge the men in any way that could be understood. Moments later, the men found themselves outside once again. The experience lasted only minutes, but to Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, it felt far longer. The blue light suddenly faded. The strange figures moved back toward the craft, without urgency, without hesitation, as if the entire encounter had followed a precise sequence. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the object lifted, rising silently above the trees. The glow became smaller, fainter, until the light disappeared completely into the night sky. The sound was gone. The river returned to silence. The men were left standing alone once again along the Pascagoula River. But nothing felt normal anymore. Calvin was trembling. Charles later said the young man was in shock, terrified, struggling to process what had just happened. Both men knew one thing for certain: they needed to tell someone. The two men drove directly to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, still shaken, still trying to make sense of what they had experienced. They told officers they believed they had encountered something not of this world. At first, investigators were unsure how seriously to take the report. UFO claims were not unheard of in the 1970s, but something about the men's behavior stood out. They did not appear excited. They did not appear amused. They appeared frightened, genuinely frightened. Calvin Parker reportedly broke down during questioning, struggling to speak clearly distressed by what he believed had happened. Investigators began to wonder whether the men truly believed their story. Investigators decided to observe the men more closely. Without informing them, officers left a small recording device running when they stepped out of the room. The recorder captured the private conversation between Hickson and Parker. What investigators heard surprised them. The men spoke in low voices. Their words were hesitant, their breathing heavy. They did not laugh. They did not suggest inventing a story. Instead, they spoke about fear, about confusion, about not understanding what they had seen. At one point, Calvin reportedly said he was terrified the beings might return. Investigators later stated the recording did not sound like two individuals attempting to fabricate a hoax. It sounded like two men trying to comprehend something deeply disturbing. The story quickly spread beyond Mississippi. Media outlets across the country began reporting on the encounter. Television crews interviewed the two witnesses. Researchers took interest in the case. Both men agreed to take polygraph examinations. The results indicated they believed what they were saying. Their testimony remained consistent. Years passed, and neither man significantly changed their account of the events. Charles Hickson continued to speak publicly about the encounter. Calvin Parker, more reserved, eventually also shared his experience in later years. Despite skepticism from some, others believed the consistency of their testimony made the case difficult to dismiss entirely. Decades later, the Pascagoula encounter remains one of the most debated UFO cases in American history. Some believe the men misidentified a natural or man-made object. Others believe psychological factors could explain the experience, and some believe the encounter represents something humanity does not yet fully understand. The Pascagoula River still flows quietly through Mississippi. The same riverbank, the same darkness, the same silence. Nothing outwardly appears different. Yet for those who know the story, that location carries a question that has never been fully answered. What did Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker encounter that night? And if something unexplained did occur, could it happen again? In southeastern Massachusetts lies a region many believe is one of the most paranormal locations in the world. A place where people claim to see UFOs, shadow figures, giant birds, strange creatures, and unexplained lights moving through the sky. This area is known as the Bridgewater Triangle. The triangle covers roughly 200 square miles between the towns of Abington, Rehoboth, and Freetown. For decades, witnesses have reported strange encounters here. Some believe the land itself is cursed. Chapter 1. The Hockomock Swamp. At the center of the triangle lies the Hockomock Swamp. The name Hockomock comes from an Algonquin word meaning place where spirits dwell. The swamp served as a major stronghold during King Philip's War in the 1600s. Many believe the violence that occurred here left something behind. Even today, visitors report hearing strange sounds echo through the swamp at night. Some claim they feel an overwhelming sense of dread the moment they enter. Chapter 2. UFO Sightings. One of the most common reports within the triangle involves strange lights in the sky. Witnesses describe glowing orbs hovering silently above the trees. Others report large triangular objects moving slowly across the night sky. These sightings have been reported for decades. Some researchers believe the area may act as a hotspot for unexplained aerial phenomena. Chapter 3. Cryptid Encounters. The Bridgewater Triangle is also known for sightings of mysterious creatures. Witnesses have described Bigfoot-like humanoids, giant snakes, dog-like creatures, thunderbirds with massive wingspans. One of the most famous legends is the Pukwudgie. According to Wampanoag folklore, these small humanoid beings are dangerous tricksters capable of luring people deep into the woods. Some locals believe the Pukwudgie is responsible for unexplained disappearances in the area. Chapter 4: Cult Activity and Dark Legends. Some areas within the Triangle, particularly the Freetown Fall River State Forest, have long been associated with disturbing rumors. Reports from past decades include alleged ritual activity and animal mutilations discovered in the woods. Whether these stories are exaggerated or based on real events remains debated. But the reputation of the forest continues to attract paranormal investigators. Chapter 5: Paranormal Encounters. Visitors to locations within the Triangle report shadow figures moving between trees, unexplained footsteps, electronic devices malfunctioning, feelings of being watched. Some believe the Bridgewater Triangle is similar to the Bermuda Triangle, an area where unexplained phenomena occur more frequently than normal. Researchers have described the region as a paranormal vortex. Final question. So what is the Bridgewater Triangle? A region filled with folklore and imagination? A place shaped by centuries of history and fear? Or a location where something unexplained continues to occur? The mystery remains unsolved. In a remote corner of northeastern Utah sits a ranch that many believe is the most paranormal place on Earth. For decades, witnesses have reported impossible events here. Massive wolf-like creatures immune to bullets, UFOs emerging from glowing portals in the sky, cattle mysteriously mutilated with surgical precision, and strange lights that appear to watch anyone who enters the property. This is the story of Skinwalker Ranch, a place where science, folklore, and the unexplained collide. Long before modern investigations, the Ute and Navajo tribes told stories about this region. They spoke of skinwalkers, powerful witches capable of transforming into animals. According to Navajo tradition, skinwalkers are malevolent beings who gain supernatural abilities through dark rituals. The land around the ranch was said to be cursed. For generations, locals avoided the area after dark. But in the 1990s, one family moved onto the ranch and began experiencing something terrifying. In 1994, ranchers Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the property. Almost immediately, strange things began happening. One afternoon, they encountered a massive, wolf-like creature near their cattle. Terry Sherman shot the animal multiple times. The bullets seemed to do nothing. The creature simply walked away. Soon after, their cattle began disappearing. Some were later found mutilated in ways that baffled investigators. Clean surgical cuts, missing organs, no blood anywhere. The Shermans reported seeing large humanoid figures in the trees surrounding their property. Sometimes glowing eyes watched them from the darkness. Other times, strange creatures resembling hybrid animals appeared and vanished without a trace. One night, Terry saw something climb from a glowing portal in the sky. The creature crawled into the forest and disappeared. The family lived in constant fear. Eventually, they decided to sell the ranch. But their story was only the beginning. In 1996, billionaire aerospace entrepreneur Robert Bigelow purchased the ranch. Bigelow believed the property could be the key to understanding paranormal phenomena. He established a research organization called NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science. Scientists, security teams, and surveillance equipment were brought to the ranch. They hoped to capture evidence of the strange events, Instead, they encountered even more mystery.
Researchers documented numerous bizarre events.
Strange orbs of light moving across the property, equipment failing without explanation, animals behaving violently near certain areas. Witnesses reported seeing triangular UFOs hovering silently above the ranch. But perhaps the strangest phenomenon involved portals. Multiple witnesses claimed to see glowing openings in the sky where objects seemed to emerge.
In 2007, the U.S. government secretly funded a program called AAWSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications Program. Part of this investigation involved studying Skinwalker Ranch. The goal was to understand whether the phenomena had implications for national security. The project investigated reports of UFO encounters, strange aerial craft, unexplained creatures. But the program remained classified for years. When it finally became public in 2017, it reignited global interest in the ranch. Today, the ranch continues to be studied by researchers and scientists.
New technology has detected strange energy spikes and unusual aerial objects. Some investigators believe the ranch may sit on a thin spot between dimensions. Others think underground geology may cause electromagnetic effects that influence perception. But no explanation has solved every mystery, and the reports continue.
So what is Skinwalker Ranch? A place where folklore and fear shape human perception? A natural anomaly producing strange phenomena? Or a doorway to something humanity does not yet understand? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The mystery of Skinwalker Ranch is far from over.
On the night of February 24, 1978, 5 friends left a basketball game in Chico, California. They were excited. The next morning, they were scheduled to compete in a Special Olympics basketball tournament. But they never made it home. Days later, their car was found abandoned deep in the Plumas National Forest, nearly 70 miles off their normal route. The vehicle was undamaged, the keys were missing, and the men had vanished into the freezing wilderness. Months later, searchers would uncover a disturbing series of discoveries that still haunt investigators today. This is the story of the Cuba County Five.
The 5 men were Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Ted Weir, Jackie Hewitt, Gary Mathias. They all lived in the Yuba City, Marysville area of Northern California. The men had intellectual disabilities but were independent and responsible. Basketball was their passion. Their families described them as excited and nervous about the upcoming tournament. That Thursday night, they drove to Chico State University to watch a basketball game. After the game ended around 10 p.m., they began the drive home. It should have taken about an hour. They never arrived. 3 days later, a forest ranger discovered something strange. A 1969 Mercury Montego sat abandoned on a remote mountain road. The location made no sense. The men had somehow driven 70 miles in the wrong direction, deep into the Plumas National Forest. Even stranger, the car was not stuck. The gas tank still had fuel. The battery worked. If they had stayed with the car, they likely would have survived. But the 5 men had left the vehicle and walked into the mountains. Temperatures that night dropped below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. A man named Joseph Shones came forward with a bizarre story.
That same night, he had suffered a heart attack while driving through the mountains. His car became stuck in the snow. While lying in pain beside the road, he claimed he saw something strange. He reported seeing a group of men with flashlights, a woman carrying a baby, strange lights moving in the forest. Shones shouted for help, but no one responded. Investigators later wondered, were these the 5 men? Or was something else happening in the mountains that night? In June 1978, search teams finally made a breakthrough. They discovered a Forest Service trailer high in the mountains. Inside the trailer was the body of Ted Weir. Evidence suggested he had survived for weeks inside the shelter before dying, but investigators were stunned by what they found. Inside the trailer were canned food, military rations, warm clothing, firewood, enough supplies to keep someone alive for months, but most of it had never been used. Nearby, the remains of Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga were discovered in the forest. Jackie Hewitt's bones were later found miles away, but one man was never found. Gary Mathias disappeared without a trace. Mathias had been a U.S. Army veteran and was the most experienced outdoorsman in the group. Some investigators believe he may have led the group into the mountains. Others believe he may have survived longer than the others. But despite extensive searches, Gary Mathias was never found. Over the years, investigators have proposed several theories. Some believe the men simply became lost. Others suspect they may have encountered someone or something in the mountains that night. The strange witness reports of lights and voices continue to puzzle investigators, and the question remains, why did they leave a perfectly working car in freezing temperatures? More than 45 years later, the mystery of the Cuba County Five remains unsolved. What happened in the mountains that night? Did the men become lost? Did they encounter someone dangerous? Or is there something about that night we still don't understand? The mountains of Northern California keep their secrets well, and the story of the Cuba County Five may remain one of America's strangest cold cases. Something strange is happening in the modern world of crime. Investigations are no longer limited to detectives and forensic experts. Now, millions of strangers on the internet are trying to solve crimes themselves. On Reddit, on TikTok, on YouTube, people analyze security footage, track timelines, and build theories about what really happened. Sometimes they help uncover new clues, but other times they create mysteries where none existed before. Tonight, on Hidden Hype, we explore modern murder mysteries that turned into internet conspiracies, cases where the official story wasn't enough for the online world. In the summer of 2021, a young couple set out on a road trip across the United States. Their names were Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. They documented their journey online, posting photos and videos of their van life adventure through national parks and scenic landscapes. To the outside world, it looked like the perfect life. But behind the scenes, their relationship was deteriorating. In August of that year, police in Moab, Utah, responded to a report of a domestic disturbance involving the couple. Body camera footage showed a visibly upset Gabby speaking with officers. Weeks later, something even more disturbing happened. Brian Laundrie returned home to Florida alone. Gabby was missing. When her family reported her disappearance, the story exploded across social media. TikTok users began analyzing every detail of the case. Some examined travel footage. Others tracked the couple's timeline across the country. Eventually, Gabby's body was discovered in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. Her death was ruled a homicide. Brian Laundrie later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in a Florida nature reserve. But the internet still debates the case. Some believe key details were overlooked. Others claim more people were involved. For many online investigators, the story still feels incomplete.
In November 2022, a quiet college town in Idaho became the center of a national nightmare. 4 University of Idaho students were found murdered in a house near campus. The victims were Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. The crime shocked the community. But what shocked investigators even more was the internet. Online forums quickly began analyzing the case. Reddit threads discussing the murders reached hundreds of thousands of comments. TikTok creators studied surveillance footage, timelines, and witness statements. Some people even began accusing innocent individuals, neighbors, friends, classmates. The speculation grew so intense that police publicly warned people not to spread misinformation. Eventually, investigators arrested Brian Kohberger, a criminology PhD student. Authorities say DNA evidence linked him to the crime scene. But online conspiracy theories continue. Some believe there were multiple attackers. Others claim the real story has not yet been revealed. And the internet continues to debate the mystery. One of the most disturbing internet mysteries began with a surveillance video.
In 2013, footage surfaced showing a young woman behaving strangely inside a hotel elevator. Her name was Elisa Lam. The video showed her pressing multiple elevator buttons, stepping in and out of the hallway, and appearing to hide from something unseen. Days later, guests at the Cecil Hotel began complaining about strange water. Maintenance workers checked the building's rooftop water tanks. Inside one of them, they discovered Elisa's body. Investigators ruled her death an accidental drowning. But the elevator footage spread across the internet. Millions of people watched it, analyzed it, slowed it down frame by frame. Some believed Elisa was being chased. Others believed something paranormal was involved. Even today, the video remains one of the internet's most debated mysteries.
In August 2019, financier Jeffrey Epstein was found dead inside a federal jail in New York. He had been arrested and charged with sex trafficking of minors. His case had the potential to expose powerful figures around the world. Authorities ruled his death a suicide. But almost immediately, the internet erupted with suspicion. Security cameras malfunctioned. Guards reportedly failed to check on him. Critical evidence was missing. The phrase, "Epstein didn't kill himself," spread across social media. Memes, podcasts, documentaries. Many believed powerful individuals had reason to silence him. Whether true or not, the case became one of the most widely debated conspiracy theories in modern history. The internet has changed the way we experience crime. Millions of people now participate in investigations from their phones. Sometimes they uncover new clues. Sometimes they create new mysteries. But one thing is certain. In the digital age, every crime story now has 2 investigations. The official one, and the one happening online. And sometimes, the internet refuses to let the mystery die.